So, hi everyone. Today is August 31st. This is the Cluster API vSphere provider meeting. We followed a code of conduct, which basically comes down to be nice to each other. So maybe first start off, are there any new folks who want to say hi, want to introduce themselves? Not, I thought we can look at the agenda.
I'm Richard Vanderpool. I've been in some of the CAPV calls. This is my first time joining the CAPV call, so nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too, and welcome.
I am Puneet. I'm from VMware, and I have a pull request open, which is the main reason I've been joining. Not my first office hour meeting, though.
Yep.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too. So I think then we can switch to the agenda. News and updates, just a quick one. We released v1.8.1 this week, which also rebased to Cluster API v1.5.1 and includes v1.28 Kubernetes support. Yeah. With that, I think we can also already switch to the first topic of discussion. Daniel, I think you can kick it off.
Thanks. Yeah, don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I think we got a lot. We got some discussion going in the issue, but yeah, it's a kind of a mismatch between the format that CAPV accepts and what the CPI and CSI implementations accept. So if you're, it's kind of a pitfall for end users. You know, if you're not aware that CSI and CPI need just the host name or IP on its own, and the port, if you're using a non-standard port, separately, you won't find out until you deploy the cluster. Is you know, if you provide a URL with a scheme, you know, or a host and port to CAPV, CAPV is happy. Everything, you know, everything's fine. It's able to communicate with vCenter, and it seems like there's maybe some sort of legacy implementation, or, you know, the support for these separate fields. And yeah, it would be nice to see if, you know, what the sort of right path forward would be. That's why I want to bring it up here.
Yeah. So if I got it right, the action item is not on the CAPV side; it's more on the provider and CSI side. Yeah, Stefan has. Yeah. So Stefan has.
Daniel, go ahead first if you want to. Not just Daniel answer. I think that's what
we'll
go after.
I think, I mean, I laid out, I think, the options. You know, I would, let's document this. You know, while it's there, I would definitely like to see a change in the CSI and CPI to support this. But I also understand if it, you know, if there's some problem doing that, and so in that case, maybe CAPV could, you know, could play nicely with CSI and CPI. So it's not clear where the change needs to happen.
Yep. So yeah, if I see correctly, basically we have a few places where we can configure a sub-URL in CAPV, I think. So my take, as I wrote on the issue, is basically I think it would be better if CPI and the cloud provider would just support a URL field instead of like us adding like 2 additional fields in all the places where we have the URL today, and then trying to support them all and doing validation that you only set the right ones. But I think that basically depends on what maintainers of those components are saying. I'm definitely fine with adding documentation on whatever the current behavior is today. That's absolutely non-controversial. That's fine. But otherwise, just from a CAPV perspective, I would prefer if we can just additionally support like the same stuff we support in CAPV in the other two components, just configuring the full URL, and then we're consistent. Everything is fine. But I don't have much background on the other two components. So I think it probably mostly depends on like another answer from Lubron. And just to hear what he is thinking.
Yep. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and if there's thank you, Stefan, for tagging. I guess you know, I'm not too familiar with the maintainers of CSI, CPI. If there's any, if there's anywhere else that I should, like bother anyone, or show up at some office hours somewhere, just let me know. And I can also see if I can, I guess, draft some doc, just a little note. Make
Yeah,
everyone aware of this.
Yeah, I also don't really have a good overview. So I know that Lubron and Yiki are definitely like the right ones to ask for cloud provider vSphere. Honestly, I don't know if it's the same in vSphere as it was for OpenStack. Basically, the CSI stuff is in the same repo as the cloud provider, and it just all belongs together. So they might also be the right ones to ask for CSI. But I literally don't know.
No, it's separate. So
It's separate, okay.
Yang is the lead, and she's the chair of storage tag. So I don't know if they have a separate meeting for vSphere CSI, or if it's just in the CSI meeting itself.
Should we maybe start with just additionally tagging them on the issue and ask them what they think?
Yeah.
Okay, can you maybe, I'm not sure if I got the ID correct. Can maybe just see them, Nadir? Ah, of course. Oh my God. Yeah, I should have known. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. If there are no additional topics, we could go to the next one. Richard.
Hi, yes. I've been working on a IPAM feature with an OpenShift, specifically for vSphere. And one of the concerns that we've had is the experimental status of this API. We would like to continue using it, and in order to do that, we would like to promote this to V1 Beta 1. And I know there's been some discussion in the issue, but it's been a little bit since we've talked about it. I just wanted to kind of put the question out there: are there any concerns with that? And if there aren't, how do we proceed with this promotion? I'm somewhat new to contributing in this space, so.
Max.
If I remember correctly, Jacob had a few open things in the current implementation, mostly around determining host names or DNS entries that might require some changes to the contract. It's not here, sadly, so we'll poke him on our Slack later on to see where that work actually ended up.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that. I can see there are a few questions here. I'm not sure who popped their hand up first.
Yep. Yeah, seems like it makes sense to definitely follow up in Slack. I'm not sure how it was done in the past year and how much like of the IPAM provider was handled in this meeting. But at least since I'm showing like the last 1 or 2 months, we basically, I don't know, we never talked about IPAM provider. So I'm not sure how much we can make a call for the IPAM provider in the CAPV meeting. I just don't know. But I think let's follow up in Slack or on the issue, and let's try to at least get some discussion going around like what would be like roughly the remaining things that you want to do before.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me raise it here. I wasn't sure either what the proper forum, but
yeah, but same for me. I mean, I know that the Node IPAM provider is pretty strongly correlated to CAPV. So yeah, There
Okay.
was probably a huge overlap in the past, and I also know that a lot of like VMware people were involved in after.
Sure. Cool. Thank you.
So
Max. I think Max, you had your hand up next.
I just forgot to lower it.
Okay, I would just have the question. So that one is the current implementation I linked here. That's right. Okay, just not that I add the wrong reference here. Okay. With that, if there are no other ad hoc topics coming up or questions,
If you don't mind, if I can just come back next week and just follow up on that, I would really appreciate it.
Yep. Just one note. Just so you know, this meeting is bi-weekly.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I did notice that. At the
just
next meeting.
just nitpicking.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
yeah, perfect. Okay. With that, I think we could do another round of going over the open pull requests.
I have a ad hoc question. I did not put it in the document. I wanted to understand the way pull requests get merged to release branches. I have a pull request open for main, but tests have been failing, and I've been getting emails about the release branches. So, is there something I need to do about it, or?
Do you have a reference to that? Which pull request? Maybe
Pull request is 2272.
Just a question: were they like recent emails, or were they from your previous PR that you had against the release branch?
No, this is a recent one. I created a new one, and yeah, I've been getting emails about the pull request failing for the branches, the release branches. So I'm wondering.
You shouldn't be getting anything, to be honest. Maybe if you want, we can maybe follow up async, and you can show me the email, and we can try to track that back. But just I can tell you what on the upstream repository should happen. Basically, you have this PR, the jobs are running there. You might see some failures there, and only after this PR is merged, and if you think we should backport it, then we start doing anything against release branches. Just based on this PR, nothing should happen. So whatever is going wrong is not correct.
Okay. Then I'll share it with you guys offline, and we can go with that.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's something happening on your fork or something. I mean, it should be unlikely, but who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I think I get an email every day, early in the morning.
Could be that these are GitHub actions running on your fork, maybe. Are the emails from GitHub, or are they coming from Pro?
Okay, yeah, maybe found it. So the question is, what job or action is it complaining about? Because there's one thing, we have a few periodics running on our repository. And nowadays, if you fork the repository, they are disabled per default, but in the past, they were enabled per default. And if you run, for example, our security scan on your fork or other stuff, and your release branches are out of date, then you still have findings there. And whenever the periodic runs, you get some sort of notification. And depending on your setting, it's either a GitHub notification or an email. So maybe that explains it somewhat, depending on the exact content of the email.
Yeah. I think these are coming from my fork. I missed that part, and but yeah, they are from GitHub. So I guess maybe what Killian mentioned on chat. I haven't pulled any of the release branches, and that might be it. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. So the solution I'm hearing is to kind of update the release branches on my fork. But is there a way to disable this?
Yeah, you should be able to just disable the forks.
You could also go to your fork. Yeah, go to your fork into settings, and under actions general, there is a knob to disable actions on your fork.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. We close that one. And thanks to Nadir for taking notes. Okay. Let's maybe open another round of requests to discuss. Okay, end-to-end test for IPAM support. What's the latest state here? Sagar was working on a doc. Yeah, basically in CI, we need a mechanism to reserve a block of IP addresses so we can implement that. Yeah, that's to be done, I think. Is there anything we could add here?
No, I think it didn't change much. I mean, basically, we have to work a bit more on the environment and then we can build something in there. Should be realistic, but we'll need a bit more time to do that.
Yep. Specifying a different credential per vSphere machine. I think there was some message here.
I think the plan was that Nadir wants to do
Yeah.
something by reviving a PR on core CAPV around multi-tenancy.
Yeah, I'll start sorting that out tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you maybe want to give a disclaimer on this PR that I don't know, at least a hint that that's not something that we're planning to support based on that it doesn't really align to what we would want to do, just because before someone is investing more time.
Yeah, I need to check because I think
Or
this one might
figure out
not
details first.
be. I think this one we might have to allow through because it's to do with like multi VC stuff.
Okay.
So I'll need to
Right. Yeah, then let's wait for that, and then after that we can continue on the discussion. Sounds good.
Okay. Maybe a question, because all the pull requests written out would take a look. Had an update, I think, at least at the last month or so. No, not really. Okay. Look at what I said. Okay, then continue to the next, right? End-to-end test to verify link clone. I think that was something we already talked about.
Yeah, I got it on my list.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a question, do we also have an issue for that, which is also assigned to Killian? Because I think then we can just close the PR and only have the issue. I'm pretty sure I assigned the issue to Killian when I saw it the last time, because he already had a PR, so we don't have to keep both. Yeah, exactly. So let's close the issue just with a note that Killian will open a new one or something once he gets there. I mean, it will happen pretty soon, given that we're making progress on our end-to-end test stuff, so it's not like it might never happen. So we can just close this one already.
Okay. Make the cleaning of clusters identity secrets configurable with default true as is. Okay. There was a Slack discussion around it.
Yeah, that was probably not linked. But to be honest, I mean, if you're not getting a response since April,
yeah,
I mean, it might be fine to add this feature if someone actually wants it, but if someone doesn't answer for almost half a year, then I'm leaning towards not adding another knob. I mean, if we get an answer before the bot closes it, that's fine. If the bot just closes at some point, then I'm not sure if it's worth adding another flag.
Yeah. So we could either wait for getting closed automatically, or
I'm slightly wondering if we don't have a state bot running in our repository, to be honest. That should be, well, it should already qualify.
Well, Nadir assigned himself in July, so maybe that's because that's the reason why the stale bot didn't kick in here.
Yeah, I think this is definitely related to the thing that I need to revive in CAPV. So yeah.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
that might be one. Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, we cannot at this point after almost 5 months waiting for an answer. To be honest, let's just close based on we didn't get feedback. Feel free to reopen or open an issue if you're still interested in that. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And if we get into another discussion, then we can see where that ends up. But we don't have to keep PRs around forever. Just write if you are still interested in this feature or something. Don't want to say it's not important or something like that. Yeah, you can definitely write due to lack of feedback or something.
Okay. Content library support proposal. I think we discussed that one in the last meetings already.
I think the state is pretty much that we get feedback. I don't know, Ricardo is not here. So I'm pretty sure that Adam is busy with a lot of other stuff because I know what he's working on. So what we probably need is at this point either wait or if someone is interested, they should take it over, which might be Ricardo.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean, they have to talk to each other essentially or something like that.
It just gave feedback last week, so yeah. I think that's okay.
Might be inside baseball, but I'm not sure Adam's gonna have time.
Yeah, it's just based on what he's working on. He probably doesn't have time like until November or something, or December. So we can definitely give the hint to like at Ricardo. Maybe let's start at Ricardo. If he maybe can contact Adam directly or something and ask if it would make sense for him to take it over or something like that, just to give a pointer, and then Ricardo can decide what he wants to do, or they can figure it out together. If it would make sense to that you take it over or something. Yep. Yeah, that one is basically pending the discussion on a document on the issue.
Yep. That one we also discussed last week, for 2 weeks ago, I think. There was an update here. Okay. So we need someone needs to invest time here to, I think, clarify the situation or help clarifying the situation. I don't know the details here. I think this needs to get done async and in here.
Assign to me, and I'll chat with Andrew if I don't understand something.
Thanks, Neil. Okay, I don't think we could skip a work in progress podcast, right?
Yeah, I
Should
think
we take a look?
you can skip that one. I mean, it's work in progress.
Yeah.
And if it's done, we just review it. So.
Yeah. Owner reference resiliency test from Klim.
Yeah, this is active. I think we can move past it. It's just failing in an annoying way.
Yeah. That's the pull request.
Yeah, that's almost done basically.
Yeah.
So I want to spend like another 10 or 20 minutes clicking at the links that you provided, and then just approving it.
Yeah. Sounds
I
good.
was just asking for more details around like how does this actually work in this.
Yeah.
Here it might be just good to just ask a high level question like, are we in general fine with the additional assertion and does it break anything or not? I think we already discussed it at some point, but just to double check.
For
Because
this
otherwise
year?
Otherwise
Yeah,
it just
okay.
just comes down to like reviewing for correctness.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing open for me here is, I will take a look at it and add some test coverage for the find VM function if possible. We discussed this additional check in the past. I now implemented it in some way, which this one will add more calls to vCenter when find VM is called. But from discussion, I think that's okay or accepted to be more secure instead. Happy to get some feedback on that if that goes the right direction.
So I think I have two thoughts. One thought is I think I probably wouldn't already try to optimize vCenter calls if we don't really have scale tests and data to so we can tell if we have a problem with too many calls and we have to literally optimize for individual calls or add caching for that sort of stuff. And the other one is just basically a high level question. Like what we do here now is we calculate the expected inventory path and then we make sure that whatever VM we find actually has that path. And I just assume that's totally fine because the inventory path will never change, right? I mean, if we do vMotion or whatever else might be a totally valid thing that just happens, this path should always stay the same. Correct?
Storage vMotion.
Because because otherwise we really break stuff, right? With that.
Yeah, need to check what happens in the case of storage vMotion because that might move the inventory path. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
And you can also drag and drop stuff in the UI. So yeah, I think there might be some things you want to check there.
Yeah, so in the case of manually moving VMs in the inventory,
fail, right?
That
but I mean
would now definitely break it.
Sorry.
But I think from the sorry, Stefan.
Sorry. I think that was intention essentially of this PR that if people are doing weird stuff by just modifying things that it should actually break. But I mean, if we now say something like drag and dropping VMs around is something that you should be able to just handle and it's totally fine if the state on a vSphere VM goes out of sync with whatever people manually did in vCenter and we don't want to fail on that, then then we can't do that assertion.
It's been like that for a long time, so that would be quite a significant change. Max has raised his hand. I'll shut up.
Yeah, we actually rely on that in a few cases. So we did a few moving clusters from one vCenter or from one cluster to another, or ESXi pool from to another, and then just rolling it out afterwards at a more convenient time.
Yeah, I mean, we can still just change our opinion on that one and say, okay, hey, that's not something that we want to break. And just close it essentially before we invest more time. I think there's nothing which strictly requires the validation. We just thought like it might be good to do because we don't break anything and it's safer. But yeah. I know, I mean, if you already know that we break use case, which are totally valid, then we can just close it now and move on.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. It was just a follow-up from a discussion we had, and we thought it would be good, but it turns out it's not good. So was that one. Let's also close this one. Okay. Back at vGPU implementation.
I still need to take care of all the review comments. I haven't had the chance to work on them yet.
Yeah, sounds good.
I did have the question about the duplicate code path. So is there a preference on which one to be used? Because I was going by the existing code. So the last comment that you made. So let me look at the Git blame history as to, but then have we just.
Yeah, so the point is here, let me open that in the code. Yeah. Yeah, the point is we already have some PCI pass-through logic which lives at a different package, which is here, which is for the PCI pass-through mode. And also the way it's used, it's different. Like your implementation here is directly in the clone of the vSphere VM. I don't know how to show it now at best.
I actually understand.
And the old way, or the current way of adding PCI devices is after cloning, there's a reconcile PCI devices function, which runs before the VM gets started.
Okay.
So I think when we do the GPU, the vGPU thing, we should do it the same way as for the pass-through devices in that function instead, or at the same add a second function for that and do it the same way to stay at the same pattern. The reason for that is for the PCI devices, for the pass-through PCI devices, or for the old way, this also updates a condition which would not get updated if we just do it in the clone.go. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make the change. I guess the issue happened because my initial pull request was based out of 1.6, and I don't think this implementation was in place then. So I just kind of rebased it on me. So maybe that's the reason. I'll fix the pull request.
That could totally be the case. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is just getting it over the finish line. There's some open. I didn't yet come to answering the last ones, but yeah, I think this. Let's get that.
Yeah, that's just pending review.
Yep. That's a draft.
Maybe you should talk about it just for a second, the previous one, because it's a relatively big change. So the large effort that we're currently doing is we enable a bunch of linters and we see what they find and then try to improve stuff. So we're not trying to blindly follow linters, but we're just trying to see what they tell us and then act accordingly. So what that change is basically doing, I don't know who's how familiar you all are with CAPV code, but essentially we have this nice pattern of building our own context, embedding the Go context, and then just wrapping another context in another context and passing that context around like crazy. So the linter that triggered this here is basically that there's something called contain CTX, which basically says, oh, you shouldn't like embed a context into a struct and then just do weird stuff. So what we're planning to do as part of this effort now is we want to make sure that we have a totally normal, regular Go runtime context that we pass around as a first parameter and split it out of that magic other context that we have, so that we can use it like everyone else to, I don't know, get a locker that controller runtime did put into it. We can take the context that also controller runtime gives us with, with the locker stuff is in there, but we can also like just propagate it down to whatever we want. Put lockers in there, add more key value pairs over time, propagate it around, all that sort of stuff. We just want to end up with like the normal pattern here versus having this magic CTX thingy that you pass around and nobody knows what's in there and you don't really know what parts of it certain functions are using. So just give some context on this thing. That's just the very first step, which basically comes down to moving the context out of our context structs and having just a separate normal context parameter throughout the entire code base.
Thanks.
Just in case someone wants to object or something.
Yeah, so that's basically this step here is the pull request, which we did just see, and it gets followed up by addressing the next step afterwards. Okay. Now that's a quick one I opened today. If anybody wants to run cube state metrics with custom resource metrics powered by CAPV, this work in progress pull request is based on something in cube state metrics. And this basically has or contains a first configuration for getting metrics for CAPV via CRs. Yeah, this will stay work in progress until the original pull request in cube state metrics gets merged, which is a generator similar to controller gen, but just for creating this metrics configuration from markers in the Go code. So everyone could ignore that one for now. The same request.
Just one question, Christian, before I move on from this PR. So we have a very unique situation in CAPV, which is basically that we have like multiple CRs with the same names, but in different API groups. I'm just wondering, when we extend this to also cover the supervisor CRDs, will that go nicely in some way, or will it crash badly?
That will go very nicely because the kind and API version should be part of the metric as a label.
Okay, so we can basically decide either we have like one resulting configuration file for cube metrics, which has like both set of CRDs, or we can just generate like one file for supervisor and one for non-supervisor.
Yeah, so overlap, the one point is overlapping names won't be an issue because of the label.
Yep.
The other thing is we could prefix the metrics of supervisor differently. So let me find that one.
I mean, if it's already via dimension, then we don't have to, right?
Yeah, we don't really have to, but we could. Sorry?
And having them specified in your configuration for cube state metrics and not having them in cluster will just result in no metrics, basically, for that specific resource. There's no problem of defining stuff for resources that you don't have. It complains, but doesn't break.
I didn't get that, sorry. I think
what
you wanted to say is
it doesn't have the supervisor CRDs installed, but you have the metrics. Cube state metrics will complain that it can't find those resources, or in the worst case doesn't have the RBAC for it, but it will not break cube state metrics.
Oh, that's good too.
Perfect, yeah, good addition. And with regards to the overlap, there's a prefix we could define. So currently it would be CAPV _ vSphere cluster. And for the VM operator versions, we could have a different prefix if we want that, but we don't necessarily have to because of the GVK being included as labels too. And thanks for the addition, Max.
And the GVKs are included in every single metric, right? That's not just in some metric. Okay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Go back. I think we're here over the list of the pull requests. So we have another 18 minutes left, so maybe we can take a look at the issues too. I should have mentioned it before we started the pull request. We're out of the normal agenda, and feel free to stay for these discussions.
Yeah, and maybe that was not intentional, but it's sort of fitted. Just in case, if someone wants to talk about any specific topics or issues, we can definitely do this first before we just randomly go over whatever issue we find.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, hi. My name is Arvind. It's my first time attending this meeting, and I want to contribute to this project. So, can you send me like any issue to me?
Yeah, hi, and welcome first. We had this kind of question already in the last meeting, and Stefan, I think you went ahead and added some good first issue labels or something like that.
I use self-wounded.
There are only three, and the people are self-assigned themselves. But one issue, like in this ENI one, a person self-assigned herself in the 2022. Can I work on that part?
I'm not understanding you 100% because the audio quality is not that great. If the first part of the question was if you can just assign yourself 100%, but I didn't get the part after.
Wait, I'm sad. Is
Also, feel free to maybe just join the Slack channel, and we can have an async discussion there if you would like to.
I shared it in the like chat.
Can you open that one, Christian? He posted an issue in the channel.
Okay.
If you can work on this one, I would just take a quick look what the issue is about, and if we still think it makes sense, because probably nobody looked in it at it for a while.
Okay, so this one would be about the current default templates when creating a cluster don't include a CNI. And the idea would be to provide a flavor which includes CNI, I think.
I'm not sure if it actually means to include a flavor which is generated like that, or if it just means modifying the generation tool so that you can produce a template with flavor, but we don't necessarily like publish it.
Yeah, so include.
I'm not sure. I mean, we could interpret it both ways, I guess. That was talking about template generation.
Yeah.
I mean, the normal thing to do, I think, is just the templates that we probably should publish and that align to the quick starters, that they don't contain Calico, because the quick starters literally like deploy all the stuff and at the end deploy Calico. I don't have any objection to make it possible. I think it is that someone can generate a template like that. I'm just not sure how useful it is, because I mean, basically we have to download the Calico YAML from somewhere and then embed it in a cluster resource set, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would be fine with it if someone wants it, or if you specifically want that feature.
I can work on any feature, but I am new to it, so I will take some time to learn about it.
Yeah,
sure.
So the problem is definitely not like that someone else would want to work on it. It's just a question of, is there anyone who wants this feature, right? Because we just don't want to maintain stuff that nobody wants to use. And I'm not really sure if, to be honest, I'm not really sure if the issue still makes sense.
Okay, I will find another issue then.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense probably. I don't know if anyone else has some opinions on that, but I mean, to me, it sounds like based on the quick start, it doesn't make sense. It also doesn't seem like anyone was asking for it, really. I mean, it was an idea, I guess, but since then, I would probably close that one with the comment of like, hey, if someone would be interested, please reopen, but otherwise we assume that nobody needs it because the regular quick start deploys Calico separately.
I already see some plus ones.
But Generant, what definitely makes sense is just take a look at the issue, assign yourself, ask for more guidance or something like that. Yeah, I think that one makes sense, but it's not necessarily an easy one. But yeah, feel free, take a closer look at the issue. Just ask if you need help and try to provide more info. Definitely feel free to just assign yourself the other one. That's fine.
Yeah, okay, I will take a look.
All right.
And definitely thanks for trying to step up and join and help the community. Always happy to see new people.
Absolutely.
Okay. So with another 10 minutes left, let's take a quick look at issues. I don't know if I click again, what happens? Okay. Okay, network requirements. Yeah, I think there was a, yeah, I think LeBron already asked for more details or follow-up questions. So I think one thing to see is we should take a look for the stalebot if this is running on the repo.
Yep, that makes sense. That really looks suspicious in general.
Yeah.
But here's the state on this issue, so.
Yeah, so maybe it works. Well, VM config is resized. Same data store. This sounds like a storage policy question, which may be related to the issue or pull request Ricardo also was at.
Yeah, I think this one. I'm back. Sorry. I think this
hey.
one. It's that. Yeah, I'm been jumping between meetings the whole day. But this one was fixed. I just didn't solve this issue, but that's fixed by that pull request that got merged and released on 181.
Okay, that's a very good answer.
And I have just tested that today, so I can confirm it's working.
I don't know how we do this usually. Should I ask for confirmation or just directly close it?
I think so. If I have added this, like fixes something on my pull request, once this got merged, the issue it's closed as well, right? So I'm in favor actually to doing closing and saying that if it's not working to reopen.
Yeah,
I think that's
perfect.
Fair. And fixes usually should close it, but there might have something gone wrong.
Yeah, there was no link. Maybe it was a second issue.
Let's definitely link it. Oh, so you already did it.
I have a question. Are you using any Golang library for this product, or is it only the Golang, like the plain Golang?
I didn't completely get your question. It was what kind of Golang library to we use, or
Like for contributing to this product, what Golang library I have to learn?
what Golang library? There are plenty of libraries we use. There's controller runtime, there's govimomi, which is for interacting with the vSphere API, for example, but also for VM operator, it's a different thing. So hard to give a simple answer to that.
Okay. I will take a look into the code deeply.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you have had any sessions at some KubeCont or something like that, like deep dives with CAPV. I doubt so, but maybe there's something around that. Don't know.
Oh. Okay.
Okay. I think we don't have to comment this one. That's the pull request which is open. Multiple clusters per zone.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
To specify multiple compute clusters per zone. Okay. So one question, there are some thumb ups. So there seem to be use cases for that. Question is if it makes sense from the point of view of the project.
I mean, what looks a bit weird is that in that example, all zones have the same compute clusters. I'm not sure if I missed something in the text, but would it be actually a separate failure domain if you use the same compute clusters? Or maybe the example is wrong. And there are actually separate clusters in each zone.
Yeah, that's a very good question.
A lot of people seem to like it.
Yeah, but maybe they just assume that, like, you know, you have like zone A, cluster AB, zone B, separate cluster AB. They're not the same. I mean, we can definitely ask that. I mean, I don't know. I probably don't know enough about vCenter, but in general, it sounds like a fine-ish idea. It's just there's probably a breaking change to our API. I don't know. I mean, not necessarily breaking change. We can add a new field, we can deprecate the old one, etc., etc. And what's like a supervisor's take on something like that? Not you?
I think it's a no.
So it doesn't work there?
Yeah.
Because you always have like 3 availability zones and it's pretty clear what that is, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it might be worth asking, like, if those compute cluster AB are separate ones per zone, or if they're meant to be the same. Apart from that, I think, I mean, no, I think we don't necessarily have to do anything with that issue, right? It's there. It's fine.
I think regardless of what the example says, we could allow this anyway, right? If somebody wants 3 zones with the same clusters in every zone, or they like.
What I don't know is if the tagging works. Oh yeah, no, that works, sure. Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to do it, I guess why not? I mean, I'm really not sure about our APIs and how they would have to change to make that work. I mean, the weird thing is basically, if I remember correctly, if you scroll slightly up, so the entire first half of this CRD is just to make sure that the tags are correct on the region and on the zone. So basically, we ensure, like, okay, the data center is tagged correctly and the zone is tagged correctly, and we can only do this like for one data center and for one compute cluster. And everything else then basically actually defines like what is this failure domain. So while it's fine to add a slice down there, it doesn't really fit to, we can only make the tagging for one compute cluster and make validate that's correctly. So that thing up there probably also has to change in some way. I mean, ideally, because I mean, I don't really like the API at all, to be honest.
But would it
But
be
if it's-
possible to select the data center also at the zone level?
That entire section there is not used for selection.
Yeah, but for,
sorry,
for
you mean data
changing at the
centers.
end. Yeah.
So I think basically you can do whatever you want in region and zone and doesn't have any influence on anything else. It's literally just validating zones. So I'm not sure if you have a validating webhook, which ensures that you don't use the same type in region and zone. It's also fine if you have multiple compute clusters that you use the zone section only to validate a text on a first compute cluster. It's just a super, super, super weird API, but that's already today, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of if this is not already possible, but just don't use compute cluster in here.
I think the compute cluster here doesn't make any problems because it literally just looks at the compute cluster and says, oh, the tag is fine, and that's it. No impact on anything. What I don't know is if that compute clusters field that there's a slice here, if that is actually a slice today.
I don't think so.
Exactly, and I think that's why it doesn't work today. And sure, you can change this to a slice or add a slice and make it work that way, but it's still super weird to the zone thing, which is only one.
It would still not work up here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would work because you would only validate one of your compute
Yeah.
clusters and nobody cares about not validating the other one. But the API looks even stranger after that change. Maybe we should get rid of this tagging thing. Yeah, maybe we just fold all of this like in Ricardo's document and figure out like how this API should actually look like.
We have an issue for that, right? Maybe it makes sense
For
to
the other
link
one?
that.
Yeah, it makes 100% sense to link it.
That's not the problem.
Yep, but maybe that's a good main point. Maybe we should just figure out like the requirements we already have and what else makes sense, and then try to get to some sort of.
That's this one, right?
Yeah, basically to get to some like, okay, this is how this API is supposed to look like as a like final step, and then maybe something in between that you can already do with V1 Beta 1 to enable more use cases.
Okay. I think with that, we're already 2 minutes over time. So any last words from anybody? Otherwise, I would close the call and stop the recording. Thanks everyone for participating, and hopefully see you in 2 weeks. Bye.